The world had grown so restless, violence filled the land. But Noah walked a different road and listened to God's plan. Build a shelter from the timber, make it strong and make it wide. Though no storm was on the horizon, Noah worked from day to night. No clouds above him, no rain in sight. Still every piece of timber was an act of faith. Before the rain came, he believed. Before the clouds came, he believed. While they wondered, he kept building. He trusted what he could not see. Before the rain came, he believed. Then the creatures came together and his family stepped inside. The door was closed behind them and the first drops touched the sky. Rain came down upon the mountains, water covered all they'd known. 40 days beneath the heavens, in the ark they rode alone. Then one morning came an olive leaf and laid a solid ground. Noah stepped into a new world with his family gathered round. Then colors crossed the heavens after all the gray. A promise in the sunlight after endless days of rain. The storm had passed, the earth was new, and mercy painted every hue. When the rain came, he believed. When the waters rose, he believed. Through the thunder, through the waiting, he trusted what he could not see. And when the sunlight broke the clouds, a rainbow stretched across the sky. Before the rain came, he believed. Jacob learned to take the blessing before it ever came his way. He fooled his brother, fooled his father, then he had to run away. With a stone beneath his head, he slept beneath an open sky and dreamed of heaven reaching downward while the angels passed him by. Years would turn the boy to someone who had tasted his own schemes, working long for love and family, still remembering those dreams. He had spent his life reaching for a blessing. Now he was going home to face what he had left. Wrestling until dawn, I won't leave the way I came. Give this restless heart a name. If I have to limp into the morning, let the old man in tonight, wrestling until dawn. I won't leave the same. Esau waited in the distance, and Jacob trembled through the night. He sent his family across the river, then stayed behind without a light. There's a stranger came and wrestled, and neither one would let it end, until the darkness met the morning, and Jacob's hip was touched and bent. Still he held on through the hurting. I will not release my hold until the man who chased the blessing finally heard a name unfold. Jacob was the name, it carried all his running. Israel was the name he carried toward the sun. He won no easy victory, he walked away with pain. Sometimes grace will bless you and never leave you quite the same. Wrestling until dawn, I didn't leave the way I came. You gave this wounded traveler a different kind of name. Now I live into the morning, but I'm no longer who I've been. Wrestling until dawn and walking home again. Sarah left the land she'd known and followed Abraham away, carrying a promise with them through another empty day. Seasons passed and tents kept moving. Years became a longer road. Every birthday made the promise feel more impossible to hold. And strangers came beneath the trees and spoke of what the year would bring. Sarah listened from the doorway and laughed at such an impossible thing. Too many years, too late, she thought. Some promises sound different when you've waited for so long. She laughed at the promise, then held it in her arms. What sounded impossible was sleeping in her arms. After all the waiting, the promise, then laughed again through tears. Morning followed ordinary morning, until her body told her why. The woman who had stopped expecting was carrying promised life inside. Then at last a cry broke through the quiet of their desert home. Sarah held the child she'd wondered if she'd ever get to know. They called the little boy Isaac, and laughter filled the tent. The sound that once had carried doubt now meant something different. The first laugh said, "It cannot be." The second said, "Look what I've seen." Same woman, same promise, but everything had changed. Sometimes joy arrives so late, you almost miss its name. She laughed at the promise and held it in her arms. What sounded impossible was breathing in her arms. After all the waiting, after all those years, she laughed at the promise and laughed again through tears. What she thought was far too late had arrived at last. Jericho was locked and waiting, rumors moving through the town. Israel had crossed the river, and everyone had heard by now. Two strangers came into her doorway, men who needed somewhere safe. Rahab knew exactly who they were and chose to hide them anyway. She'd heard the stories of their God, of seas that opened, kings that fell, and somewhere deep inside her heart, she knew those stories all too well. The city feared what she believed, so she asked for mercy for her family. Leave the Scarlet court where everyone can see a line of hope against the falling city. When the walls come down, let this window stand. The Scarlet court, a sign of faith. A different life can still begin. She lowered them outside the window, sent them safely through the night, then tied the Scarlet cord above her and waited for the coming fight. Days went by around the city, once outside the promise, walked into another life. Your yesterday doesn't have to write the ending of your name. One act of faith can open up a road you never planned. From Jericho to Israel, from outsider to a home, and generations later, her name would still be known. There was a scarlet cord where everyone could see a line of hope against a fallen city. When the walls came down, that promise still remained. The scarlet cord, a sign of faith. Her past would not define her name. A different life had just begun. Jonathan was born a prince. The kingdom should have been his own. A warrior with a royal future, growing underneath Saul's throne. Then David came from battle with a giant left behind. And something in the young man's courage joined their hearts and changed their lives. Jonathan gave him what he carried, his robe, his weapons, and his trust. A friendship born inside a palace that would soon be tested much. He knew one day the crown might pass him by. Still he chose his friend instead of choosing pride. Some things are worth more than a crown, more than a throne, more than a name. If loving you means letting go of what I thought would come my way, then take the crown, I'll keep my word. Some things are worth more than a crown. Saul grew darker toward David, and the palace filled with fear. Jonathan stood between his father and the friend he held so dear. He warned David when the danger made it impossible to stay. And in a field outside the city, two friends had to part their ways. Jonathan knew David's future could have fought for, but never lost the man he chose to be. Some things are worth more than a crown, more than a throne, more than a name. He chose his promise, chose his friend. When jealousy could have had its way, no crown upon him at the end. Still loyalty became his legacy. Some things are worth more than a crown. David's men had guarded shepherds through the danger of the land. When the season turned to feasting, David asked for food and thanks, but Naaman answered with an insult. Who is David? Who is he? And when the message reached the camp, 400 men rose angrily. David fastened on his weapon, certain vengeance would be right. But somewhere in another household, someone heard and chose to ride. Abigail gathered bread and wine and hurried down the road. One woman's wisdom rode between a wounded man and blood. She stood between anger and blood, between one moment and a lifetime of regret. She couldn't change the words already spoken, but she could stop what hadn't happened yet. Between anger and blood, she chose the road of peace. She met David on the mountain, bowed before him in the road, asked him not to stain his future for the anger he now held. Don't let vengeance write your story, don't let rage decide this day. David listened to her wisdom and slowly put his sword away. When Abigail returned to Naaman, she waited for the morning light. Soon his proud and foolish story reached its unexpected end. Strength isn't always drawing the sword. Sometimes strength is stopping the hand. Wisdom can enter one dangerous moment and change what tomorrow becomes. One quiet voice, one brave approach can turn an army toward the road home. She stood between anger and blood, between one moment and a lifetime of regret. She couldn't change the insult that had happened, road of peace, and David walked away with cleaner hands. Naaman wore a soldier's honor. Victory followed where he led. But underneath the robes and armor was a sickness he could never mend. A servant girl inside his household spoke about a man of God. So the mighty captain traveled with his silver robes and pride. He came expecting something splendid, a prophet standing at the door. Instead, a messenger instructed, washing Jordan 7 times. Naaman turned away. That river looked too small. Sometimes pride is hardest when the answer looks too simple. 7 times in the river, 7 times down, the mighty man went under without his medals or his crown. 7 times in the river, till pride gave up its claim. He came looking for a healing and came out a different man. His servants gathered close around him. Why not try what you've been told? So Naaman walked into the Jordan, still offended, still unsure. Once beneath the muddy water, twice and then another time. 6 times nothing seemed to happen. Then he lowered number 7. When he rose above the surface, his wounded skin had been made new. The commander who arrived with riches finally knew what grace could do. He brought silver, he brought clothing, but healing wasn't his to buy. He brought status, he brought power, but had to leave his pride behind. The river wasn't magic, the water wasn't grand. The miracle began when a proud man obeyed a simple command. 7 times in the river, 7 times down, 7 times down. The mighty man went under without his medals or his golden image touched the heavens. Music sounded through the plain. Every ruler, every servant was commanded to obey. When the horns and strings were playing, thousands fell upon the ground. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were the only ones still standing. Word was carried to the king, and fury filled his royal face. Bow before the image now, fire will become your place. They did not know if rescue would arrive, but even without rescue, they would not bow to survive. There was another in the fire, walking where they should have burned. There was another in the fire, and the flames could not consume them. They were never promised they would never face the fire, but when they walked into it, they were not alone. The furnace burned much hotter than it ever had before. The soldiers fell beside the opening as 3 men crossed the door. Then the king rose up in wonder. Didn't we throw 3 inside? Now I see 4 men walking freely, and not one is bound or harmed. He called them from the furnace, and the crowd came close to see. No burned hair, no ruined clothing, not even smoke upon the 3. Faith is not a bargain, saying save me and then I'll believe. Faith can stand before the furnace even when it cannot see. Whether rescued, whether taken, still we will not bow. And sometimes in the hottest fire you discover who is with you now. There was another in the fire, walking where they should have burned. There was another in the fire, and the flames could not consume them. They walked into the furnace, but they didn't walk alone. There was another in the fire, and he brought them through. Mordecai lived far from Judah in the empire of a king. He raised his cousin Esther like a daughter of his own. When the palace called the young women, Esther entered through its doors. And the orphan he had cared for would become the kingdom's queen. Mordecai stayed near the gateway, watching quietly each day. Then he heard 2 men conspiring, and their secret reached the king. No reward came, just a man who knew where he would stand at the king's gate. He would not bow. Haman saw him at the gateway, and his wounded pride grew dark. He wanted more than one man's ending. He would strike an entire people. Mordecai put on his mourning and sent word to Esther inside. The place you hold may have a purpose greater than your own safe life. Then one sleepless night the king asked for old records to be read, and found the deed of Mordecai still waiting to be honored. The man marked for the gallows was dressed in royal clothes. The one who planned his ending had to lead him through the roads. One night, one book, one memory, and everything began to turn. What seemed forgotten was not forgotten. The page was waiting for its hour. At the king's gate, he would not bow. When everybody else was bending down, no crown, no throne was needed then. He simply stood where he had always stood. And when the story turned around, the man outside the palace was lifted from the ground. At the king's gate, he would not bow. Boaz walked among the barley as the harvest filled the land. Then he noticed someone gathering what the reapers left behind. Who is she? He asked his workers, and they told him Ruth had come, a foreign widow with Naomi, working since the morning sun. He had heard about her kindness, how she'd left her home behind. So he told her, stay here safely. There is room for you beside us. She came looking for enough to make it through. But kindness had been waiting in a field she never knew. Under his wings you came for shelter, and underneath those wings you found a home. What looked like an ordinary harvest was grace already growing all along. Under his wings you were not alone. Boaz told his men to leave her extra barley on the ground. Ruth went home with more than expected, and Naomi understood. This man was more than simple kindness. He was family close enough, one who had the right to help them restore what loss had taken off. When Ruth came quietly before him, Boaz promised he would act. He would honor every custom and do what faithfulness required. Then before the elders of the city, he redeemed the family name, and the foreign widow from Moab became his wife and found a home. Then came Obed, then came Jesse, then one day a shepherd came, and far beyond that valley field, a greater story still would spring. Boaz never saw the generations growing from that simple grace. Sometimes heaven writes a history through kindness in an ordinary place. Under his wings she came for shelter, and underneath those wings she found a home. What looked like an ordinary harvest was grace already growing all along. From Ruth and Boaz came a story they could never fully know. Under his wings, the smallest kindness became part of something more. The world had grown so restless, violence filled the land. But Noah walked a different road and listened to God's plan. Build a shelter from the timber, make it strong and make it wide. Though no storm was on the horizon, Noah worked from day to night. No clouds above him, no rain in sight. Still every piece of timber was an act of faith. Before the rain came, he believed. Before the clouds came, he believed. While they wondered, he kept building. He trusted what he could not see. Before the rain came, he believed. Then the creatures came together, and his family stepped inside. The door was closed behind them, and the first drops touched the sky. Rain came down upon the mountains, water covered all they'd known. 40 days beneath the heavens, in the ark they rode alone. Then one morning came an olive leaf and laid a solid ground. Noah stepped into a new world with his family gathered round. Then colors crossed the heavens after all the gray. A promise in the sunlight after endless days of rain. The storm had passed, the earth was new, and mercy painted every hue. When the rain came, he believed. When the waters rose, he believed. Through the thunder, through the waiting, he trusted. across the sky before the rain came. Jacob learned to take the blessing before it ever came his way. He fooled his brother, fooled his father, then he had to run away. With a stone beneath his head, he slept beneath an open sky and dreamed of heaven reaching downward while the angels passed him by. Years would turn the boy to someone who had tasted his own schemes, working long for love and family, still remembering those dreams. He had spent his life reaching for a blessing. Now he was going home to face what he had left. Wrestling until dawn, I won't leave the way I came. Call me something different, give this restless heart a name. If I have to limp into the morning, let the old man in tonight. Wrestling until dawn, I won't leave the same. Esau waited in the distance, and Jacob trembled through the night. He sent his family across the river, then stayed behind without a light. There's a stranger came and wrestled, and neither one could let it end until the darkness met the morning, and Jacob's hip was touched and bent. Still he held on through the hurting. I will not release my hold until the man who chased the blessing finally heard a name unfold. Jacob was the name that carried all his running. Israel was the name he carried toward the sun. He won no easy victory, he walked away with pain. Sometimes grace will bless you and never leave you quite the same. Wrestling until dawn, I didn't leave the way I came. You gave this wounded traveler a different kind of name. Now I limp into the morning, but I'm no longer who I've been. Wrestling until dawn and walking home again. followed Abraham away, carrying a promise with him through another empty day. Seasons passed and tents kept moving. Years became a longer road. Every birthday made the promise feel more impossible to hold. Then strangers came beneath the trees and spoke of what the year would bring. Sarah listened from the doorway and laughed at such an impossible thing. Too many years too late, she thought. Some promises sound different when you've waited for so long. She laughed at the promise, then held it in her arms. What sounded impossible was sleeping in her arms. After all the waiting, after all those years, she laughed at the promise, then laughed again through tears. Morning followed ordinary morning until her body told her why. The woman who had stopped expecting was carrying promise to life inside. Then at last a cry broke through the quiet of their desert home. Sarah held the child she'd wondered if she'd ever get to know. They called the little boy Isaac, and laughter filled the tent. The sound that once had carried doubt now meant something different. The first laugh said, "It cannot be." The second said, "Look what I've seen." Same woman, same promise, but everything had changed. Sometimes joy arrives so late you almost miss its name. She laughed at the promise and held it in her arms. What sounded impossible was breathing in her arms. After all the waiting, after all those years, she laughed at the promise and laughed again through tears. What she thought was far too late had arrived at last. Jericho was locked and waiting, rumors moving through the town. Israel had crossed the river, and everyone had heard by now. Two strangers came into her doorway, men who needed somewhere safe. Rahab knew exactly who they were and chose to hide them anyway. She'd heard the stories of their God, of seas that opened, kings that fell, and somewhere deep inside her heart, she knew those stories all too well. The city feared what she believed, so she asked for mercy for her family. Leave the scarlet cord where everyone can see a line of hope against the falling city. When the walls come down, let this window stand. The scarlet cord, sign of faith, a different life can still begin. She lowered them outside the window, sent them safely through the night, then tied the scarlet cord above her and waited for the coming fight. Days went by around the city, then the trumpets filled the air. Walls that seemed to stand forever suddenly were no longer there. But behind one marked out window, Rahab's family stayed alive. The woman once outside the promise walked into another life. Your yesterday doesn't have to write the ending of your name. One act of faith can open up a road you never planned. From Jericho to Israel, from outsider to a home, and generations later her name would still be known. There was a scarlet cord where everyone could see a line of hope against a falling city. When the walls came down, that promise still remained. The scarlet cord, a sign of faith. Her past would not define her name. Her past would not define her name. A different life had just begun. Jonathan was born a prince. The kingdom should have been his own. A warrior with a royal future, growing underneath Saul's throne. Then David came from battle with the giant left behind, and something in the young man's courage joined their hearts and changed their lives. Jonathan gave him what he carried, his robe, his weapons, and his trust. A friendship born inside a palace that would soon be tested much. He knew one day the crown might pass him by. Still he chose his friend instead of choosing pride. Some things are worth more than a crown, more than a throne, more than a name. If loving you means letting go of what I thought would come my way, then take the crown, I'll keep my word. Some things are worth more than a crown. Saul grew darker toward David, and the palace filled with fear. Jonathan stood between his father and the friend he held so dear. He warned David when the danger made it impossible to stay. And in a field outside the city, two friends had to part their ways. Jonathan knew David's future might become what he'd once dreamed. Yet he asked for no repayment, only kindness for his family. Not every hero wins a throne. Some make room for someone else. Some victories are quiet choices no crowd will ever celebrate. He lost the future he could have fought for, but never lost the man he chose to be. Some things are worth more than a crown, more than a throne, more than a throne, more than a name. He chose his promise, chose his friend, when jealousy could have had its way. No crown upon him at the end, still loyalty became his legacy. Some things are worth more than a crown. David's men had guarded shepherds through the danger of the land. When the season turned to feasting, David asked for food in thanks. But Naaman answered with an insult, "Who is David? Who is he?" When the message reached the camp, 400 men rose angrily. David fastened on his weapon, certain vengeance would be right. But somewhere in another household, someone heard and chose to ride. Abigail gathered bread and wine, and hurried down the road. One woman's wisdom rode between a wounded man and blood. She stood between anger and blood, between one moment and a lifetime of regret. She couldn't change the words already spoken, but she could stop what hadn't happened yet. Between anger and blood, she chose the road of peace. She met David on the mountain, bowed before him in the road, asked him not to stain his future for the anger he now held. Don't let vengeance write your story, don't let rage decide this day. David listened to her wisdom and slowly put his sword away. When Abigail returned to Naaman, she waited for the morning light. Soon his proud and foolish story reached its unexpected end. Strength isn't always drawing the sword. Sometimes strength is stopping the hand. Wisdom can enter one dangerous moment and change what tomorrow becomes. One quiet voice, one brave approach can turn an army toward the road home. She stood between anger and blood, between one moment and a lifetime of regret. She couldn't change the insult that had happened, but she stopped what hadn't happened yet. Between anger and blood, she chose the road of peace. David walked away with cleaner hands. A golden image touched the heavens, music sounded through the plain. Every ruler, every servant was commanded to obey. When the horns and strings were playing, thousands fell upon the ground. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were the only ones still standing. Word was carried to the king, and fury filled his royal face. Bow before the image now, or fire will become your place. They did not know if rescue would arrive, but even without rescue, they would not bow to survive. There was another in the fire, walking where they should have burned. There was another in the fire, and the flames could not consume them. They were never promised they would never face the fire, but when they walked into it, they were not alone. The furnace burned much hotter than it ever had before. The soldiers fell beside the opening as three men crossed the door. Then the king rose up and wondered, didn't we throw three inside? Now I see four men walking freely, and not one is bound or harmed. He called crowd came close to see. No burnt hair, no ruined clothing, not even smoke upon the three. Faith is not a bargain saying save me, and then I'll believe. Faith can stand before the furnace even when it cannot see. Whether rescued, whether taken, still we will not bow. And sometimes in the hottest fire you discover who is with you now. Where they should have burned. There was another in the fire, and the flames could not consume them. They walked into the furnace, but they didn't walk alone. There was another in the fire, and he brought them through. Mordecai lived far from Judah, in the empire of a king. He raised his cousin Esther like a daughter of his own. When the palace called the young women, Esther entered through its doors, and the orphan he had cared for would become the kingdom's queen. Mordecai stayed near the gateway, watching quietly each day. Then he heard two men conspiring, and their secret reached the king. No reward came, no trumpet played. His faithful act was written down, and quietly put away at the king's gate. He would not bow when everybody else was bending down. No crown, no throne, no royal name, just a man who knew where he would stand at the king's gate. He would not bow. Haman saw him at the gateway, and his wounded pride grew dark. He wanted more than one man's ending. He would strike an entire people. Mordecai put on his mourning and sent word to Esther inside. The place you hold may have a purpose greater than your own safe life. Then one sleepless night the king asked for old records to be read, and found the deed of Mordecai still waiting to be honored. The man marked for the gallows was dressed in royal clothes. The one who planned his ending had to lead him through the roads. One night, one book, one memory, and everything began to turn. What seemed forgotten was not forgotten. the palace was lifted from the ground. At the king's gate, he would not bow. Boaz walked among the barley as the harvest filled the land. Then he noticed someone gathering what the reapers left behind. Who is she? He asked his workers, and they told him Ruth had come, a foreign widow with Naomi, working since the morning sun. He had heard about her kindness, how she'd left her home behind. So he told her, stay here safely, there is room for you beside us. She came looking for enough to make it through, but kindness had been waiting in a field she never knew. Under his wings you came for shelter, and underneath those wings you found a home. What looked like an ordinary harvest was grace already growing all along. Under his wings you were not alone. Boaz told his men to leave her extra barley on the ground. Ruth went home with more than expected, and Naomi understood. This man was more than simple kindness. He was family, close enough, one who had the right to help them restore what loss had taken off. When Ruth came quietly before him, Boaz promised he would act. He would honor every custom and do what faithfulness required. Then before the elders of the city, he redeemed the family name, and the foreign widow from Moab became his wife and found a home. Then came Obed, then came Jesse, then one day a shepherd king, and far beyond that barley field a greater story still would spring. Boaz never saw the generations growing from that simple grace. Sometimes heaven writes a history through kindness in an ordinary place. Under his wings she came for shelter, and underneath those wings she found a home. What looked like an ordinary harvest was grace already growing all along. From Ruth and Boaz came a story wings. The smallest kindness became part of something more. Naaman wore a soldier's honor. Victory followed where he led. But underneath the robes and armor was a sickness he could never mend. A servant girl inside his household spoke about a man of God. So the mighty captain traveled with his silver robes and pride. He came expecting something splendid, a prophet standing at the door. Instead, a messenger instructed, washing Jordan 7 times. Naaman turned away. That river looked too small. Sometimes pride is hardest when the answer looks too simple. 7 times in the river, 7 times down. Without his medals or his crown. 7 times in the river, till pride gave up its claim. He came looking for a healing and came out a different man. Servants gathered close around him. Why not try what you've been told? So Naaman walked into the Jordan, still offended, still unsure. Once beneath the muddy water, twice and then another time. 6 times nothing seemed to happen. Then he lowered number 7. When he rose above the surface, his wounded skin had been made new. The commander who arrived with riches finally knew what grace could do. He brought silver, he brought clothing, but healing wasn't his to buy. He brought status, he brought power, but had to leave his pride behind. The river wasn't magic, the water wasn't grand. The miracle began when a proud man obeyed a simple command. 7 times in the river, 7 times down, 7 times down. The mighty man went under without his medals or his crown. his name.